So with round 3 of the Six Nations fast approaching, let's talk about selection options, predictions, what might happen in Ireland, Wales, England and Scotland games, because of course they're all playing each other, these Lions teams, which adds an extra twist to the round of course. Welcome to this video supported by Sports News Blitz. Check them out for great Six Nations content. Now, Wales versus Ireland, whether we like it or not, whenever you play the team that is the weakest in the competition, teams will often use that opportunity to rotate players for whatever reason. It could be resting them, it could be minor injuries, major injuries, it could be trying out different positions, trying things for the future. There's all sorts of things that could go on here. So Ireland do have options, and I wonder which way they're going to go. It's always a balancing act. For Wales, it's a little bit up in the air again. Sure, Gatlin was fairly unpredictable, but we don't really know what Matt Sherratt's going to do here. Of course, he's brought players into the squad, which, kind of indicates he might play them, but we'll have a talk about Wales as well. Now, let's start with the favourites, Ireland. Of course, the only team that can win this Grand Slam, and they don't want to make so many changes they lose coordination, but Ireland are that team that are so well joined up in their national planning that generally if they make changes, they hit the ground running anyway, but we will see. Loose head prop, well, Porter, of course, is the main man. I'm sure he's going to start again. But on the bench, do you carry on with Healy or do you start to develop Boyle a bit more? Because definitely people have been saying in the comments they need to get more development into Boyle, more loose head props, because Healy's not going to be around forever, although it seems like he is. So I think Boyle comes onto the bench with Porter starting. I think that's the way it's going to be and the way I'd like it anyway. Hooker is interesting because we've had Kelleher starting. Now with 2 appearances off the bench behind him, I think it's time to get Sheehan back behind the wheel, and I think that's what's going to happen. Sheehan starting with Kelleher to the bench. At tight head prop, it sounds like it's a bit of a push for Furlong to return for Wales. I think they could rush him, but I don't see the point. So I think they'll carry on with Bealham starting and Clarkson on the bench, and Furlong probably coming in after the other rest week for rounds 4 and 5. Second row, lots of good options here. If Byrne and Ryan are fully fit, maybe they carry on. McCarthy is the one who's back in training from injury, so I imagine he's involved somewhere. Probably going back to the bench with Byrne and Ryan carrying on starting. Isachukwu, there's a good argument for him to start, but I think maybe he waits again, but maybe they pull the trigger again because Wales are the weakest team in this tournament. That's just factually true, ranking-wise, so maybe Isachukwu does come in on this game, but because McCarthy's come back from injury, I think they'll want to get minutes into his legs. Back row, I think they might make some changes here. It's been reported that Doris is a bit banged up. That's a technical term from the first 2 rounds. You kind of want the captain involved in the matchday 23, so I think maybe he drops to the bench and Conan gets a start. It's just a perfect time to do it. Conan probably is the second best option for the British and Irish Lions at number 8, but he could do with a start. He's been so amazing off the bench, so I don't really think you lose a lot and you can keep Doris in the squad. And you've got a perfect guy to come in and captain the side. Omani, if he starts at 6, I think that works. You don't want to change around the whole back row, so Cian Prendergast maybe has to wait again. So Van der Fleer starting at 7, but again, that's a position where they do need to build some depth. So I'm saying that Conan gets a start, Doris to the bench, Omani captaining at 6, Van der Fleer carrying on at 7. Scrum half-wise, they could rotate. If Craig Casey was in that squad, I think he would be in the 23, but he's injured. Does Blade come in? I don't know. And if they're going to carry on with Prendergast, Sam Prendergast at fly half, maybe they want to keep the combinations the same. So I'm saying they do Gibson Park and Sam Prendergast once again, and probably Murray still on the bench, but maybe getting more minutes into Murray. Jack Crowley could do with some minutes at 10 because he didn't come on there in the last match. But if Sam Prendergast is being developed as the new first choice, keep Prendergast starting, but again have a plan to get more minutes into Crowley. Frawley hasn't played yet, so I'll bring him into the 23. He can cover 15 centre, 10. Osborne could cover centre as well, but I think let's get Frawley into the party. Centre-wise, Henshaw had a start versus Scotland. Still a class player, but I don't think he did enough to change the order that is Aki Ringrose's first choice. So I think I'd go back to that Aki and Ringrose. In the back 3, Hansen's back fully fit. Nash was good v Scotland, but did get a bit dominated physically, so I think I'd bring Hansen back in if he's fit enough, because he is their main man. He's the guy they want to start, so take the opportunity. But I would rest Keenan. He's had a couple of games now. They know how good he is, but they need to get Osborne into this game, into this 23 at least, and I would start him at fullback because I think he's their second choice fullback and needs game time, and he's so talented as well. He could move to the centres. We will see. So that's how I see a possible Ireland team lining up versus Wales. And yeah, there's a few changes in there, but goodness me, check out the bench. So I think they might do something like that, but let me know what you think. Now on to Wales and Matt Sherratt's first selection as interim head coach. It's going to be really interesting. If you think you can guess what it is, then I recommend you play my starting lineup. I've mentioned it before. They're giving one free play for new registrations as well. Use the code RugAN1 on registration to say I sent you. That would be great. And if you get the selection 1 to 15 spot on, then you're a winner. If there's more than one winner, there's your little draw. Last time there was only one winner in round 2, and he wins a pair of tickets to the Lions Captain's Dinner at the Vale Hotel, 3-course meal, night stay, all that jazz. Pretty cool. A pair of those tickets to be won every round, so do enter, give it a crack. At least you got a free play anyway. Now previously I've already made a video saying who I would select in my team, and it's pretty close to the team I think that he might select, so let's have a little look. Of course we've got Anscombe, Jared Evans and Max Llewellyn's in, Liam Williams, Owen Watkin out with injury. This is how I think he might line up. I think he will bring back D at hooker with a bit more experience. I don't think he'll ditch Rowlands, even though I did in my team. I think he's been underperforming, but he's one of those few experienced heads in there, so I think he'll go Rowlands and Jenkins back from illness as he was in the last round, with Freddie Thomas dropping to the bench to cover second row and blindside. This is the back row I'm absolutely 100% sure he's going to field. Now, I say 100%, of course, nothing's 100%, but surely this is the best back row. Wainwright, who made such a difference in round 2 coming on, Morgan, the captain, and Faletau at 8. I like the look of that. And to me, considering Matt Sherratt brought back Gareth Anscombe, surely he's going to start him alongside his clubmate Thomas Williams-Anscombe to move the team around the pitch to implement his new strategy. That makes sense to me. Plus, if you put his teammate Max Llewellyn at 13, then you've got lots of cohesion in that backline already. With Big Eddie James, the youngster inside Llewellyn, that should be a really formidable lineup, certainly going into the future. Back 3 is a little bit weaker for Wales, but I do see Adams, Rogers and Murray being the best back 3 they've got. Sherratt hadn't brought back Cam Winnett, which I thought he might, so Murray, who went well last game, stays anyway. So that's how I see the starting 15. Rafael covers 7 on the bench. He might stick with Rodri Williams. He's bringing back Jared Evans from England, from Harlequin, so I think he's going to play him at 22, covering 10, and Joe Roberts, a new-looking centre as well. Could play Ben Thomas covering 23, but his performance doesn't really justify it, so I think that's how he might go. So on to England, and what sort of team might Borthwick pick to try and finally take that Calcutta Cup back? They're at home, of course. You can see in the rugby paper there, Mitchell's on a revenge mission. They're going to really want this one. Of course, Boyd off their win against France last week. And again, this is one of my starting lineup prize teams. It's the England and Wales teams in this Six Nations. If you predict them, then you can win that captain's dinner overnight stay at the Vale Hotel. So if you use the code RugAN1 on registration, you get your free play anyway. So you might as well have a crack. Now, they've put Tom Curry and George Martin on the rehab list, which isn't great. Tom Curry has been playing unbelievably well. I hadn't put him in my initial Six Nations tournament team, my tournament squad, because I thought his injury was so bad, it's not worth playing him, it's not fair on him, etc. But he proved me wrong that he can still produce these massive performances, which is great. I am a little concerned, I'm probably over-concerned, having similar injury myself, that this isn't good for his long-term career and is the reason he's on the rehab list because of his hip or something else. Ironically, you'd want it to be something else. So I'm going to pick from the current 28-man training squad, but players might come back into that. Like I said, be aware of that. Henry Pollock's come back in, which is interesting, but he might return for the under-20s for their game, or they might rotate players. So it's hard to know exactly who's going to be selected from, but let's just assume it's the 28 for now. I don't think that Borthwick's going to change the front row. The pressure would be maybe on Cowan Dickey because his throwing is a big worry. I don't think I'd change it either. I kind of cross my fingers and hope that Cowan Dickey comes good, but give him some extra support with the line-out jumping of Ollie Chesham, and if Martin's injured anyway, that looks like what is going to happen anyway. He was definitely very quick in the air, helping out, and George was on as well. So Chesham helping out Cowan Dickey, keeping the front 5 very similar apart from that 1 second row change. If Tom Curry is out or rested, who do they bring in? Well, I'm pretty sure it will be Chandler Cunningham-South, but he's not as quick as around the pitch as Tom Curry is. Sure, he hits hard. For me, I think the best replacement would be Ted Hill. I'm always going to say that because I think he's got so much talent and I don't see it wasted, but I think he might come into this actually. But let's say that Cunningham-South's going to play 6. Earl staying 7, who looked fairly liberated in his natural position, and I like the balance that Tom Willis brought, that ballast to make extra yards through hard contact. I think he's going to get a second start. Surely Borthwick's going to start Mitchell with Finn Smith again, give it more time. It went really well against France. Mitchell had one of his best games, which is fantastic, build some confidence. Finn Smith had admitted he was very nervous in the first 20 in that start against France, so he should be a lot more assured in this game, although still big pressure. Slade and Lawrence is their only combination in the centres. We can't see Dingwall in this squad. I don't think they're going to swap anyone out apart from maybe Freeman into 13 for some time in this game. And I think they're going to keep that back three the same. No, Slightholme played pretty well. Freeman had an absolute worldie. And Marcus Smith, certainly not perfect, created things. And I think he could do with game time to control those impulses so he can make more measured impacts in the game. And when he makes those breaks, not throw it away or something like that. You could bring in Stewart, but again, you're completely changing the makeup of your team if you do that. So I think he'll keep that all the same. On the bench, Hayes is the only tight head in there, so I think he plays. Apoko Fajor, it would be great to see him play at some point, but Hayes has been quietly doing his job, which is what you want a tight head to do, I suppose. George and Baxter both had big impacts. Baxter probably his best impact for England so far. And looking at the 28 as it is, Ted Hill will be there covering second row, which I actually really like as an option. Atoje and Chesham might play the full game anyway, so he could come on at 6 and Ben Curry could come on at 7, so some good impact. Will they play a 6-2? Well, they might need some more guys coming into the squad. If not, maybe they'll go Randall, Daly, of course, with that match-winning intervention. Maybe Beard comes into it. Not too sure on this point here. How will they go on the bench? Depending on the squad makeup, of course, but that's how I see England going roughly. If you want to take a punt with my starting lineup, use your free play, especially if you're new registering, then you might as well have a crack and try and win that Lions captain dinner couple of tickets. On to the visitors to Twickenham, Scotland, and they couldn't produce that big performance they needed against Ireland, but they're going to be really wanting to bounce back against the old enemy England. They know that they've got the better of them a number of times, so it's going to be a real good battle. And despite some underperforming players last week, maybe Kinghorn with a number of errors, I think they pretty much know their best 15 and they're going to wheel it out again here. Interesting coin toss between Sutherland's extra mobility at loosehead and Schoeman's extra bulk. They could swap it around, but I think maybe they'll just stick with Sutherland, Cherry and Fagerson. Again, they may go for a change-up with Ashman at 2 as well, but Cherry's been so good in the set piece they might stick. Gray and Gilchrist, I think, are nailed on at second row, but I think they might go back to their super speed back row, bring back Ritchie to 6, Darsh 7, Fagerson 8. It's an absolute rocket ship of a back row, really going to be disrupting England's ruck ball, getting over the ball, stealing it absolutely everywhere, and Dempsey back to the bench. White and Russell starting 9 and 10, but I think they might move Jordan back to the bench. Didn't quite work last time out, plus he had to go to 10 unexpectedly when Russell failed his HIA, so I think they might go to the bulk of McDowell alongside Jones. Now in this selection, I'm assuming Darcy Graham is resting from his nasty head knock. If that's the case, then Carl Rowe comes in. Pretty good replacement, but if Darcy is fit to go, then I'm sure he'll play alongside Van der Merwe and Kinghorn. Onto the bench, I think they will go 6-2 again. Maybe someone like Josh Bayliss, if he's fit, would be an excellent impact sub as well. Dobby and Jordan cover absolutely everywhere. 9 wing for Dobby, Jordan can cover centres, 10 fullback, so that makes perfect sense, I think, there. So I think Scotland are going to line up something like that. Let me know what you think of all the selections, what's going to happen. If you want to try and predict those Wales and England selections with my starting lineup, please register with the code RugAN1 and give it a crack, especially with that free play. You might as well give it a go to win the tickets to the Lions Captain's Dinner. Love to know what you think is going to happen in round 3. Pop all those comments down below. And if you've been watching and you're not subscribed, that would be awesome if you did that as well. And I'll catch you next time.